thinking. So if I say to you, how do you think? Most people would say, what do you mean? I think. I just think. Okay, there are different ways of thinking. This is another thing that's good to be aware of. So either or thinking is an example. Some people think it's either black or it's white. This one, I think we're kind of catching on more as a culture, because I notice more in interviews lately, when interviewees are given the question, do you think this or that? They're all smart now. They say, well, it's actually a little bit of both. So people are catching on that it's not either or, but some of us still have that either or mindset. It's either a good employee or it's a bad employee. I'm either good at this or I'm not. It's not really on-off switch. A lot of this really is dimmer. It's both and. So think about that a little bit. Some people think in linear terms. Some people think in systems terms. Linear, cause and effect. This happened, therefore that happened. This created that. That's linear thinking. We all do that a little bit. Systems thinking really is recognizing that there's a lot of parts, and they're all moving around, and they're interchangeable. So, we were talking before we started about I injured my hamstring, and then I wound up overcompensating in the way I was walking, and then wound up injuring my knee. So, our bodies are systems. They're all interrelated. Everything affects everything else. I actually remember in high school, I'll never forget this, I learned that World War I was started by one single act. It was the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand in Sarajevo. I was taught that somebody firing a gun and killing one guy started a world war. Okay, it's a lot overly simplistic. I've since learned there's a lot of things going on that was sort of a trigger. So sometimes we oversimplify. There are national leaders who oversimplify those two things. It's like you're either for us or you're against us. Okay, that's a kind of a really insulting oversimplification of the complexity of global diplomacy. You're either with us or you're against us. Not so much. If you think in systems terms, teams, how many of you have heard that idea that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts? Have you heard that? Yeah. How many of you believe that? Most of you. It's actually the most misquoted aspect of systems thinking anywhere. The theory is not actually that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. The actual systems theory is that the whole is different than the sum of the parts. Technically, the way in which it's greater than the sum of the parts is if you have a team that you're on with 6 people, if you look at the whole group as the 7th element, okay, in that sense, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. But just because you put 6 people together does not mean that they will do better than 6 individuals. If you have ever in your life worked in a dysfunctional team, you know that's true. Sometimes I go to work with teams that are like, it's amazing. If you just added them up individually, they're so much better than the team. It's like I've always been meaning to go do some research. I've not gotten around to go back in hockey and basketball particularly to see how all-star teams do against sort of like last year's Stanley Cup champion or NBA champion. The championship team, how do they compare against a team of all-stars? My guess is that the championship team would actually outplay a team of all-stars because they have a certain chemistry and synergy and a way of working together. They anticipate each other. Just having the raw talent isn't necessarily enough. Problem solving. I'm not sure how you think about problem solving. I would actually encourage you to consider the possibility that problem solving, for me, is an out-of-date notion. I don't use that language anymore with my clients. I will talk to them about problem substitution. If you think in systems terms, if you have a problem and you fix it, oftentimes you fix that problem, then you create 5 other problems, a lot of the time. I was thinking today, I was trying to buy tickets for something. If you go to a film and there are assigned seats, you reserve a seat. Okay, so I'm thinking if you run a movie theater, now you have to have a staff to kind of sell tickets, and you have to deal with people coming saying, look, I want to have 3 seats together, can you move me, and can I switch seats or something? It's a pain in the neck, so you can just decide, you know what, forget that. Here's what we're going to do. Open seating. Okay, just first come, first serve. Now you can get rid of the people that you've hired to kind of manage tickets and ticket exchanges and all that. So you fix the problem. However, Now you got another problem. Now you're going to have to hire some security staff because now people, if it's a really up and coming opening or something, you're going to have people. You have to worry about stampedes, people waiting at the door, tripping over each other. You're going to have to worry about people fighting. I saw this seat first. So you know what I'm saying? It's a simple example, but sometimes you fix one problem, you just create another one. So I think more in terms of problem substitution. I also think differently about anxiety because I was saying growth and comfort don't coexist. Because we're uncomfortable when we grow, we're also a little bit anxious. Everybody gets anxious. I find it helpful to think about anxiety and excitement as two sides of the same coin. Whenever you are anxious, there's another part of you that's also excited, and vice versa. So Toastmasters, when you get up and you talk and you're nervous, yeah, there's also a part of you that's excited about that. I actually find it helpful to think about anxiety as under-oxygenated excitement. So most of the time, if you're anxious, if you just will let yourself take a deep breath or two, physiologically you will eliminate half of the stress that your body's feeling. So just give it some air and you help to convert it from anxiety to excitement.